Have you ever found yourself needing to start over? Maybe it's starting over with your diet or your exercise routine, or you find yourself starting over in a new career in midlife. What if you had to completely start over in life in all aspects? Well, maybe you find yourself recently divorced or an empty nester, and you're at a place where you're rediscovering who you are in this new season of your life. Well, my guest today, Allison Gonzalez, has done just that while incorporating travel in an RV while starting over in life after 50. So welcome to Solo Travel Adventures. I'm Cheryl Esch. Listen in on our conversation and hear her story. Well, hello, Allison Gonzalez. I'm so glad you're here today to share your travel story with my folks here on my podcast.
It's great being here. I'm so excited to talk to you. I've been waiting for a while now, and I'm just excited. I've been preparing for it.
Oh, well,
Yay!
good. I'm glad you're here. And I always like to start my podcast when I've guests, have them share their origin travel story. Like, how did your love for travel even begin?
My love for travel. I think I've always been kind of curious just about different cultures and seeing different things, places out there and anywhere, deserts, cities, it doesn't matter, natural or not, and meeting different people. Unfortunately, I'm an introvert, but I'm trying to change that a little bit through the travel. But no, I think it's always kind of been there. But I specifically remember, I think I was 12 or 13, and we went on a family road trip. I'm originally from Southern California. We went on a family road trip to part of Arizona, and we went up into Colorado and then cruised back through Utah. And if you know that area, it's packed filled with national parks. And it's just
Absolutely. Yes.
gorgeous in those areas. So we hit all these national parks, anywhere from Grand Canyon, Zion. Where else did we go? I think we went to Mesa Verde. We went to these Colorado Springs, and my mom and it took me and my younger brother, he's 5 years younger than me. We took us out hiking in these gorgeous places, and I just fell in love with it. And this was one of the first times I actually saw rain in the summertime, because
Oh,
we
wow.
didn't get that in Southern California. So I was like, this is really neat. And then I found out later it happens a lot in other states. But I just absolutely fell in love with it. And I thought, I'm going to make sure that I have travel in my life. And went from there. I don't care if it was by jet, car, walking,
Yeah. I mean, and
as long as I
there's
get it in.
so many different ways that we can travel and that you're open to that. Well, I understand. I know a little bit of your story as far as how you more recently, for example, in 2019, you had an event happen in your life that kind of perpetuated you and prompted you to these new beginnings of like getting into
Oh
solo
gosh.
travel. So tell me what happened there.
The universe works in strange ways, doesn't it?
Yes.
Just it propels you for sure when
Hmm.
you're on one track, and then you're forced to take another one, but at least this one was an exciting one coming from something negative.
Hmm.
So if I just rewind just a little bit, in 2018, I sold my home in California. And then in 2019, a year later, I moved to Arizona, but I was looking to purchase another house. Um, and I had been saving money, and I saved the from the sale of the house. I had the equity from that. So I was ready. I'm going to buy a house in Arizona. Um, and I was staying with my mom and her husband. They had retired in Arizona as well. So I was staying with them. They invited me. They said, no, you don't have to rent anywhere. Just stay with us until you find a home. Well, I was working remote at the time, out of a company out of the Bay Area. And so I was actually planning on buying the home and traveling too, because I was working remote. I could live
Hmm.
anywhere.
Yeah.
And in November of 2019, I got laid off. And I went, oh gosh, now what do I do? Now what do I
Yeah.
do? Nobody's going to give a mortgage to anybody that doesn't have money. I had the down payment, but I couldn't make the monthly payments, of course. So they gave me a severance and it was closer to Christmas. So I decided I'm not going to look for a job right now. I'm going to go ahead and look in January. It's a fresh year. I'll look then.
Right.
Um, it was at that time just me and my dog. I have grown children. They were out on their own by then. So it was me and my dog. And she was 14 at the time. She came down with cancer. So for
Mm.
the whole month of January, I was actually taking her an hour and 45 minutes away to, I'm forgetting the name of the type of doctor, but for chemotherapy
Oh, wow. Okay.
at a veterinarian that specialized in cancer in our pets. Well, it didn't work, and she ended up passing away
Mm.
in February. So about 5 weeks later, she was older. She was my buddy. She did everything with me. She was a great dog, but she ended up passing. And um, that's kind of when I decided, excuse my language, I won't say it out loud. Like I won't say the whole word, but I was just like, F it. I'm I'm gonna live my life because now we were getting into also the pandemic time.
Mm-hmm.
And I just over the month of February and through March, the pandemic started to hit and I had lost my dog, lost my job. And I said, you know what? If this is how it's going to be, I have this chunk of money. I'm just going to skip the house and travel. And so, yeah, I was at that time, I was still deciding, should I just travel and maybe rent apartments or homes in different
Yeah.
cities around the world or the RV? Well, the pandemic made that decision for me as well.
Yes.
I couldn't travel outside of the country. And I stayed within the state too for a while. So yeah, it just the way things just rolled out,
Mm-hmm.
it made my decision for me. I have a little side note too. My I can't remember the exact day my dog passed away, but the very next day I was mourning. I didn't want to do anything. I was just sitting in the room just going over the internet. I was looking at hikes and travel and just something that would cheer me up
Yeah.
because now I had this void in my life. I was used to
Correct.
walking her and going places with her and everything. So I was just clearing my head and I was part of a group of women who it's an over 40 hiking
Mm-hmm.
group. And this random woman, I don't know any of them personally, or I just don't know any of the women there. Random woman said, does anybody want to hike the AZT with me? And I didn't even know what the AZT was. I went, I will. I didn't know her. I didn't know who the AZT was. I said, "Oh, it's okay. I'll vet her. We'll probably vet each other and make sure this is legitimate and safe." I ended up meeting her, and I'm still friends with her. If Janet is listening, hello, Janet.
Oh,
She's been a supporter of me. We've been friends ever since. We've hiked. We headed out on the AZT, but as I said, the pandemic it took us off after 76 miles. Yeah. After that, I said, you know what? I love it out here. I'm going to buy an RV. And that's what started it.
yeah.
I'm just going to do it. I don't care if I am solo.
That's, see, I love that. Just like you
Yeah,
said, just not caring, taking that leap and doing what makes you happy and fulfilled. Like you needed something to fill that void, as you said.
I think
And
so.
yeah, and because you already have this sort of ground, this foundation of travel, and how I love how it fits in. And then, of course, you were not the only one during that time that chose to do RVing, but I guess that answers the question why you decided to RV through the US. It really, really was decided for you. Um,
Yeah.
what challenges did you encounter while RVing solo in the US?
You know what the biggest challenge is? Well, it's two. As a solo woman, there's always that it's in the everywhere. You're always thinking of your safety.
Mm-hmm.
Always safety, 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 thinking of different scenarios. What if my RV breaks down? You could do
Right.
that as well with a car, but RV, there's a lot more involved. It's a little home.
Yes.
What if it breaks down? What if I meeting somebody unsafe? You know,
Mm-hmm.
that you're coming across somebody unsafe and what you're going to do in those scenarios and stuff. So that's one of the biggest challenges. A lot of it's mental. Like it can be
Mm-hmm.
straining, it can be stressful if you get yourself into a wrong situation, driving a rather large vehicle, and getting out of a situation that could be unsafe. That probably was the biggest challenge. And like I said, it was more mental than anything. Sometimes it can be lonely.
Mm.
Oh, I wasn't sure if I froze. Sometimes it can be lonely. Um, but and especially as an introvert.
Oh,
But if you're an
yeah.
extrovert, you'll meet people. I did
Yeah.
meet a few people out there, but yeah, you have to be careful for your safety. So a lot of times you don't meet other people. But I did. I met a few people out there and still friends with actually all of them. That is so strange. Yes, all of them. They live in different states, but yeah, still friends with them. Some of them are still nomads. um, the challenge that there was another thing that I was thinking of and I forgot what it was, but
I think
um
so I've done a little, I lived in my RV for a few months. So, um, one of my challenges, I don't know if you kind of encountered this, was more the physical part of, I guess, maintaining the RV, parking it, the hookups, the all that
yeah.
stuff that, I mean, typically, I mean, I just marvel at the women that do this on a regular basis, like you did for a while, and travel and move around and have to hook up, unhook, because it's I don't want to say it's a man's job, but it certainly would make it a lot easier if a guy would handle it, right?
Yeah, there were times there was one time I was in Texas and I didn't have the strength to get there's the big hose that dumps your gray and black
Yeah.
tank
Yeah.
and it clicks on and you make
Mm.
sure it clicks on,
Hmm.
otherwise bad things could
Yeah.
happen. Like you think about it. Um, I dumped and then I went to try to take it off and I couldn't take it off. And,
Uh,
I'm just not strong enough to do it. I was like, I don't have a tool for this. And I couldn't get it off. And I felt so bad because I was staying at a county park and they let you stay there for free and there was nobody else around.
oh, okay.
The campers had left for the day. So I couldn't find anybody to help me. And I had to leave my hose there.
Oh,
And I
oh,
felt so bad. I could buy another one. I
yeah,
just had to
yeah.
go to Walmart or an auto place or
Oh
whatever,
my
I could buy another
gosh.
one. I felt so bad leaving it there because it's, leave no trace. You don't leave a trace
Yeah,
behind. Maybe your tire tracks, but you clean up after yourself at your campsite. Oh, I felt so bad leaving it there, but I was thinking it's a good hose still. Maybe somebody will take it. They'll be able
sure.
to get it off and take it. So, I felt so bad. But yeah, it's something like that.
So you did that for how long? How long were you doing this initially? Because I know, moving to the next kind of phase, I know you encountered a bit of a detour with the RVing. You stopped for a little while, I think, right? So how long did you actually, I guess, solo RV before this different season or detour in your life happened? So
Yeah, we could call him a detour.
detour, yes, I like it.
I was solo for 6 months in the very beginning. So I started in July
Okay.
of 2020,
Mm-hmm.
and I met him January of the next year. And then, but we were on and off, on and off. He had his own rig and everything. So, and it was kind of an on and off relationship. So, total, I was out there for 4 years,
Okay.
um, with and without him. So there
Okay.
was a lot of times that I was not. I was still solo. Um, so yeah, 4 years. I would have kept going, but circumstances.
And so you're kind of at a place where you have a home or whatever, like for now. And
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
okay. So And what did you learn about yourself during those 4 years of RVing solo?
I think the biggest thing I learned about myself is, I'm stronger than I ever thought I was, especially as you get older. It's really important to know that you're still capable
Yes.
of relying on yourself. Um, strong, just capable.
Yeah.
Um,
I love that word. It's yeah.
yeah, because a lot of women as they get older, and I guess men too, but I can only speak for women that I've myself as well as what I've heard, speaking to other women our age, they'll have this idea that I don't need a man or I don't need anybody else. It's like, yeah, if in today's society you kind of don't. If you have your career, you have an income, you can make it on your own. And so that's nice to know that you can. And then there are options to have a partner in your life. There's options to have your friends in your life. Those are nice things to have in your life, but it is nice to also know it's not absolutely necessary physically or
Mhm.
financially, psychologically it can get lonely, but yeah, I mostly learned about myself that I'm stronger than I ever thought I was. And I don't mean physically, I just mean psychologically.
Mhm.
Um, the stresses sometimes that you could that happen while you're traveling solo, like I mentioned, the safety, there had been a few cases where I felt unsafe. And getting out of that situation safely, getting to safety, and you go, wow, I did that. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm proud of myself. I was able to
Yes.
do that. And now I know don't do that again.
Correct.
So, yeah,
Yes.
don't go back there. So that is so liberating to know that you can rely on yourself.
Yes.
It
And
really is.
I think as we age too, that's also super important as because the statistics are that women outlive men. All right. And
Yeah.
so when, even if you are married and, say you lose a spouse, whether it's later in life or in midlife, that you already like, I find that women that already have that confidence, they know they're capable of managing things on their own, tend to fare better than I've seen, some women that completely rely on their spouse for everything. And then when they pass, they're not, I mean, everybody's going to be devastated losing somebody they love, but they're even more devastated because they don't have the skills to sort of take care of themselves, manage things in the household or whatever it is that's needed to be done. So I agree that it's important now, especially, in midlife, that, we are strong, resilient women. Most of us were
Yeah.
Gen Xers, so we have that in us. But, but to remind ourselves, like you said, through that whole process, getting that confidence back if you've lost it through life or, you know, just building it up and knowing you are capable of hard things. I mean, that's hard. I mean, I don't know many women that would just say, "Yeah, I'm going to go RV solo." That's a huge undertaking. So, um, admire you, and I couldn't last very long, actually. So,
Oh, well, thank you. It
yeah.
was
So
just an adventure to me.
yes, yes. And I think attitude, like you said, mental attitude really does play into a lot of what you've experienced and just in travel in general. So thank you for sharing
Yeah.
that. Um, did you, while you were in this process, besides finding your voice or finding yourself being capable of certain things that you didn't think or learning things about yourself, like, oh, I won't do that again. Kind of, we always have those
Yes.
moments, right? Was there, um, was there a process of besides the confidence building where you felt yourself being healed or transformed from any kind of prior situation? I think prior to 2018, were you going through a divorce or
Yeah.
something?
My
Yeah.
divorce was final in 2015.
Okay.
And yeah, I had always been with somebody, as a
Mm.
child, it was your parents that helped, that took care of you. And then later on, um, I was in school, I went to university, and you have your roommates and you still have
Mhm.
your parents to
Yeah.
back you up, to lean, like you lean heavily on them.
Mm.
And then it was my husband for almost 20 years. And so you're leaning. It's kind of like you get to experience yourself,
Mhm.
if that makes sense. It's more of a spiritual, soulful thing. I
Mhm.
have a hard time explaining this part of the journey. You're like, yeah, I can tell you about all the other ones, the physical, the psychological, but uh, um, the soul filling part of it. For me, I like to be outdoors. I stayed a lot on public lands and wake up in the morning and feel that cool breeze, feel the sunrise, or if it's really cold too, it doesn't matter. You just absorb and you have nature all around you. And there's just this connection I felt with nature. So it was very soul healing. And I think I
Mm.
needed that.
Yeah.
I think I had been craving it since that. Sometimes I get a little emotional about it.
It's
It hits me
okay.
a little bit because I
Yeah.
miss it. That trip to Colorado when I was 12, 13 with
Yes.
my family, I missed that. And so I, of course, went back to Colorado when I started RVing. I spent a lot of time in Colorado and I missed it so much. And just being around the trees and the Rockies and in the deserts and stuff. I don't know how to explain it. It fills your soul. It's
Yes.
very healing to
Yes.
be in nature,
Yes, it
even if it's
is.
just a neighborhood park, to touch the trees or walk in the grass. There has to be some type of energy transfer between us and the dirt
There
and nature and stuff.
there
Yeah.
is. There's science behind it. So, and
Yeah.
I would agree it's something hard to explain, but someone else who's experienced like what you are trying to explain, I have too. Like I understand it. I understand that feeling, that elation, that yes, like I think someone just recently, and I actually just mentioned it to somebody else, like that it is a tonic for your soul.
Yeah.
I mean, I loved how they phrased that.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm going to steal that because I think that's a great way to describe what you're saying when you're in nature and you're getting that fill in your soul. That's what it does to us. And there's science behind it, with us being connected to nature and like you said, the energy that it emits, but I find also you sound a lot like myself and that knowing you've sounds like you rediscovered that's what fills you. Like you need to be in nature and that's what kind of has filled you and it sounds like you miss it. So like I know.
I miss it immensely.
Yes, I understand that feeling. Yeah. So it's hard, like you said, it's hard to explain unless you yourself have also maybe experienced that. So yeah.
It's my driving force right now because, last year I had a huge downfall, financially, personally, even psychologically. And there's two things well, I guess there's three things. Getting back on my feet is a huge um, push for me. But what keeps me going is remembering how I felt when I
Yes.
was out there,
Yes.
that I was reconnecting with me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm sure you've had guests on, and I've heard other women talk when we are younger and we are married and we're raising children, or you're taking care of your parents,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is, you're taking care of other people, even at work. If
Yep.
you're a manager, you're managing people, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
customers, you're giving, giving, giving. So this actually, I felt a little selfish during this time, and I thought, well, this is for me. This is for
Yes.
me. So I do miss that, but I always circle back around because you can't give what you don't already have. So if I don't have that serenity for myself, if I don't have that love for myself, respect for myself, I can't give it to, say, my children. I can't give away
Right.
love if I don't have it. So it was very healing. But knowing that feeling keeps me going now. It pushes, pushes, pushes. Even when I'm tired, I go, no, no, I remember being out there and I remember having, and it doesn't have to necessarily be that lifestyle again. I just remember that feeling. So I want that back. And
Hmm.
then my children, I work to leave a legacy for them, I guess,
I love that.
to have
Yes.
a strong mother as young
Yes.
adults and encourage them and be able to support them. So they push me still, even in adulthood. We never give up being mothers. So
It's true.
it's those two things.
Yes. I love that. Well, you mentioned Colorado being kind of a place that you return to because of the memories involved with that. Did you have any other special places that were like your favorites along the way?
There's, well, I don't want to give it away, but there's a place outside of Tucson that's really, yeah, a lot of times we keep our little places secret
You
because we
can
don't want a
keep
lot of
it. You
people
can just
going
be
out. Yeah.
vague. Yeah, that's all right.
It's just there's a place and you know it outside of Tucson. There's like all these saguaros. There's Saguaro National Park.
Yes. Yes.
So it's just it's a calming place. There's just something about the desert. I never thought I'd like it, but you're surrounded by saguaros and the creosotes and the all the desert plants and the small animals and the coyotes and
Yeah.
um that was another place. Like I would hop between the two. Of course, we I followed the weather. So when it started getting cold in Colorado, you start heading south.
South.
So I
Yeah.
come down into Arizona, a little bit of New Mexico, but yeah, I really loved certain places outside of Tucson
Okay.
that I
Yeah.
would go to. Nothing outrageous about it. It wasn't spectacularly gorgeous like Sedona or Yosemite or Yellowstone or anything like that. It was just a nice place to rest. And
Yeah. The
yeah,
quiet desert called you. Just
it
like spoke to
did.
you. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
definitely did. And I felt safe there. There was
Yeah.
always a few other, a lot of times you either on public land, you camp around other nomadic people,
Hmm.
and they can be of every age.
Yeah.
I've met young couples and snowbirds that are
Hmm.
just out there and they bring, they have their lifestyle and everything. They may go into Tucson during the day or they have a side by side or motorcycles or something like that and they
Yeah.
explore. So you have this wide range of people that you'd meet. I loved it. So I felt
That's
safe
awesome.
there. They were always, people like that were always camped out there.
Yes. Yeah. You meet a lot of people. So
Definitely.
you brought up a place that I am not, believe it or not, I do a lot of hiking, but I'm not familiar with the AZT, you called it. So the Arizona
Oh,
Trail, right? So
yeah.
tell me a little bit about that. Where, like, speak to me like I don't know where it is and where it runs to, how long it is, and that stuff. And I think you've done part of it, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the AZT is the Arizona Trail. It runs from the Mexican border in
Mm.
Arizona to a town. It runs it to Utah. I think it's the town
Oh,
of Kaibab. I could be wrong, or
okay.
Cabot. I'm probably mutilating the name. So, and it just travels up the spine of Arizona. So you hit deserts, you hit high mountains along the way. You go through the Grand Canyon as well.
Oh,
So,
wow.
and you do it. I guess it takes about 6 to 8 weeks because it's 800 miles.
Okay.
So,
Sounds about right.
um,
Yeah.
and so that was the one that I started with my friend Janet. And we also had another person with us, David, and we got 76 miles north. We started at the Mexican border and we hiked 76 miles. And we had a place it was called Kentucky Camp. And it seemed like it was in the middle of nowhere. Still, I think it is. And there's a camp host there because you can rent out the little cabin there, I
Okay.
think. And he
Nice.
was there and he goes, "Oh, you guys have to get off trail because when you're on trail, you don't hear news. There's no cell signal. Well, sometimes there is, but you don't hear news. You're hiking, you're
Correct.
enjoying yourself. You're paying attention to the trail,
You're disconnected.
Exactly. And that's part of the reason you do it. You're
Yes.
disconnected. And this was early March of 2020. So we went
Ah,
ahead with our trip because we're like, oh, this is only going to last a couple of weeks,
we
this
all thought
pandemic,
that.
this thing, you know. And you know, 2 weeks in, this guy's telling us, oh, no, no, you need to go home. Everything's shutting down. I think he kind of made it a little worse than it was at the time, but it scared me and Jan because we both have kids, grown kids, and we didn't know what was happening. Like, oh, people are dying. And it's like, okay, I can't be out here. If this is
Yeah,
going down, for one, nothing's going to be open. Where
correct.
would we get our food? We have to
Correct.
replenish our food. We want
Mm-hmm.
to be able to stay in motels to
Hmm.
rest at least once a week.
Yeah.
So, and we wanted to be with family.
Yeah,
You
of
want to be with
course.
family during that
Yeah.
time. So we made it 76 miles and got off trail. Um, but since then, Jan has actually, she lives north of here. She's come down and we'll hike like sections of it. I
Oh,
haven't been able to
good.
do it with her, but we've hiked sections. We hiked a big section in Flagstaff.
Okay.
I've hiked another section up by the Grand Canyon, so I'm kind of piecing it
Piecing it
together.
together.
So now
Yeah.
yeah, I've done 200 miles or so of it.
Okay.
And if I just try to I used to try to park my RV as close as I could to the trail if I
Mhm.
could on public lands and then day hike it.
Yeah.
So, or backpack it if I could. Someday I'll finish it.
And people do that with the AT Trail, the Appalachian Trail too.
They
They,
do with the AT, they
yeah,
do with Pacific
piece. Yeah,
Crest. Yeah.
exactly. So, I mean, that's huge. I mean, I give you credit. That's amazing. But it's in, it's exciting to hear that you are back doing it because I know that I'm sure that was a little disappointing at the time that you were kind of due to unforeseen circumstances, you were forced off the trail again. So, but I'm glad you're back
Yeah.
doing that. I love it. And
Yeah.
so aside from, doing some day hikes or backpacking overnight hikes to try to get section of the AZ trail done, what are some other plans you have with your solo travel coming up? Anything else?
Gosh. You know, to tell you the honest truth, I'm such a backpacker. I was still wanting to backpack. There's a trail in Spain. It's called the Santiago or
Yes, the Santiago,
yeah,
the Camino. So you
yeah.
want to do the Camino?
That is actually it's on my bucket list, of course. Um, yeah, I don't really have any. I do, but it's mostly like car travel and then backpacking or day
Yeah.
hiking. I
Okay.
still just um I feel we're fortunate to live in a country where we can see experience a lot of different cultures in different states as well as the beauty of the different states as well. There's
Yes. And
so much
all of our
diversity.
national parks are incredible.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so I just got my mom's husband has friends. They're from Scotland, and they stay in Spain a lot along the Mediterranean. They came to visit the States just actually a few days ago, and they told me, anytime you want to come to Spain. I said, oh, don't tell me that. Don't tell
Yes.
me that. I will be
You,
there. I said, I go,
well,
how
you
much is a plane
should.
ticket?
I got mine pretty well. I flew into Portugal. So I did the Camino last year. I did the Portuguese
Oh,
portion, not the one in, well, it dumps you into Spain, obviously, at Santiago. But I went Portugal as the route that I took. But
okay.
many people do the one through Spain, the St. James Way they call it, or the original kind
Okay.
of way. But fantastic. I mean, you should definitely do it. And if you need any advice, I'm here. But it's definitely was on my bucket list to do, and I'm glad I did it. And you have a possibility to stay with somebody for a little bit, right? I mean that,
Yeah.
yeah. And flights weren't too bad depending on when you're going. So yeah. It takes a little planning, though, I will tell you. But since you're already a backpacker, you should probably you'll fare well because you'll know how to pack at least, right? To pack pretty lightly. Yeah. So you should be good there. But yes, so well, any last minute advice that you would give any female solo traveler, someone maybe in their midlife that is considering a solo trip?
I really thought of these when you said this because I wanted to make sure I get this. I don't know. I really thought of these because I I like to inspire other
Yeah.
women to
Yeah.
do your best, be your best.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a dream or a hope, I know it sounds a little, you know, Snow White or whatever, the fantasy, but it's not, it's true. If you have a dream or a hope, at least try for it.
Mm-hmm.
Just, so for me, it was to get out of my comfort zone,
Ah,
even if it's just
yes.
a little bit, just
Yes.
a little bit. I mean, if you hate to fly, obviously don't fly, but take a train then. Drive a car.
Correct.
If you really just want to travel and meet people and see things, just get out of your comfort zone, and you'll learn that it was not as scary once you do it.
Mm-hmm. I
Even just
love that.
little steps.
I love it.
Um, I've also learned from my mistakes. So learn from your mistakes. Uh, if you didn't filter your water and you drank it, well, you got sick. Don't do that again. Just stuff, not stuff like that, but definitely learn from your mistakes because it just
Yes.
makes you stronger and
Yes.
then more bold. You'll get more bold and you'll try even more neat things to do. Um, but another thing is that, those are all for yourself. Those are pulling from your strength, but also learn to, this was a hard one for me, learn to trust your loved ones, like lean on them. I
Hmm.
didn't want to lean on my mom until I had to. Now I may not wait till I have to. I lean on her more for advice. I didn't before. I could do this on my own. You don't always have to do it on your own. It's great to solo travel, but it's also nice to have those friends that you lean on. I have friends I
Yes.
lean on, and not just during the bad times, during some good times too, and involve them. And you can still enjoy the solo travel, and you can enjoy time with them as well. But I've had to learn to lean on people. I thought I
Mm.
could always do it by myself. So, and then
I,
I was just have fun.
yes. Yeah. I love the leaning on because I think we often, we think, oh, well, we're doing the solo. We got to do it by ourselves. We got to figure it out by ourselves. But I like that advice to lean on others. And even if it's just not family, like you said, lean on someone who's maybe had more experience doing what you're trying to do, right? I love
Yeah,
that. Yeah, not being ashamed to, ask questions or, you know, like you said,
exactly.
yeah, yes, ask for help, right?
Ask for help.
Ask for help.
It's okay. And there's a
Yeah.
lot of people that will oblige. They enjoy doing
Yes.
that. So,
Yeah.
and if they don't want to, then move on to another person.
Yes. I
We're
love it.
human, we're social. We like to help each other despite what we see on TV and the news and stuff. We
Yeah.
we do.
Yeah. Yes. And I hear that a lot when people travel. We often, like you said, we experience more kindness in the world than we maybe hear through media. But there are a lot of kind people out there. And like you said, willing to help. And it really makes me smile about, just humanity and that it's out there. We just have
It
to,
is.
yeah, sometimes look
You have to
for it
be
though.
open to it.
Yeah, open to it.
Definitely.
Yeah, and then look for it. Yes. Well, you have a blog, you have Instagram, you have YouTube. Where can people follow you and as you kind of move forward into probably some new adventures for yourself,
Oh, I
hopefully.
know.
Yeah. And
I'm
some
hoping.
continue that section hike of the AZT. So, where can they follow you? Share that with us.
So the main hub where I'm always at is my Alley Rambles. So that's my blog. It's ALLIERAMBLES, alleyrambles.com.
Okay.
And that's where I write and I share a lot of my story and also resources. As I gain knowledge of resources, I'll put them in there as well.
Nice.
Um, but if you, I have a YouTube channel, I have an Instagram page, also Facebook. But if you were to just, for any of those that you like, some people prefer Instagram, some people prefer YouTube. You just look up Alley Rambles YouTube, and it'll pop up in Google or whatever search engine you're looking at. Because I think I'm one of the only Alley Rambles out there, so you're bound to find me if you want to follow my story.
That would be great. So encouraging. Well, Allison, I appreciate you sharing your story and, even the great advice you gave to other women out there that might be wanting to take that trip, that solo trip. And
I hope
man,
they do.
you are definitely, definitely an inspiration for how much confidence it took to do the RV stuff.
Oh,
So I just admire you. So thank you for sharing that and,
well, thank
showing
you.
that it is possible for other women to possibly do the same if that's something they're interested in. So great.
Definitely. Thank you
Thank you.
so much, Cheryl, for having me.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I hope you were inspired by Allison's story and all the roadblocks and detours that she encountered. She kept going. She changed course. She even paused to stop and reevaluate right now. But she's ran into whether it was the pandemic that sort of thwarped her plans or whether it was a relationship that changed her course. She is back to looking down that road and looking to do another solo trip and start over again and again. And if that's where you're at in your life, you are ready to start over, you want to take that leap into a solo trip, I want you to book a call with me. Let's have a little coffee chat and let's just see if I can help you. Well, how I can help you. I want you to be moving forward and taking that leap and develop that confidence that, as Allison shared, she was doing things she didn't know she could do, and she was more confident than she realized. She's more capable, I think was the word that was used. And I want that for you. So in the show notes, there is a link where you can book a call with me, and I would love to hear from you. And sisters, get out there and have that adventure.